Hey folks, it's Michael with the ccerp podcast, Cypress Creek Ecological Restoration Project, about taking care of our local area, enjoying it, hiking, biking, removing invasive species, picking up trash, education, community. I'll put a link to the Facebook page in the show notes for you. But to get to the show, today we are here to talk to Kelly Norrid of Texas Parks and Wildlife Department. He was gracious enough to spend some time talking to us today. So, Kelly, could you say hi and tell us about yourself?
Hey, I'm glad to be with you this morning. My name is Kelly Norrid. I am a urban wildlife biologist with Texas Parks and Wildlife with the Houston Urban Wildlife Technical Guidance Program. It's a nice, long government title that pretty much means that there are two of us here. We cover the greater Houston area, and we basically deal with wildlife issues with public, private landowners, with city, local governments, HOAs, POAs, City of Houston, all the different cities in the greater Houston area. We also do habitat assessment work. So we have people that will call us and say, hey, I would like to make my property more manageable for wildlife.
Cool.
We will go out and look at their property and assist them with creating management plans on helping improve their property for wildlife and wildlife management. Like I said, we work along with local governments when it comes to wildlife issues they may be having. Here recently, we've had a lot of calls about wild hogs.
Oh yeah.
We talk to HOAs and POAs and citizens on a wide variety of wildlife issues, dealing with raccoons, coyote, white-tailed deer, etc. We do that mainly in these urban and suburban areas of the greater Houston area. So essentially, we kind of go from Galveston to Willis, Huntsville, or sometimes over almost to Winnie. So we cover kind of that upper Gulf Coast area when it comes to urban issues with wildlife.
And then what did you say your title was?
My title is Urban Wildlife Biologist.
Okay. And then what was that other fancy long thing that...
Yeah. The other part is the program that we're in. We're in the Wildlife Diversity Program of Texas Parks and Wildlife, and we are in the group that's called the Houston Urban Wildlife Technical Guidance Program. And we're spread out across Texas. We have a presence in the DFW area, in Austin, in the Valley, El Paso, San Antonio, and Houston. And,
okay.
Most of our job, like I said, is providing technical guidance to people. So in other words, people come to us with an issue in regards to wildlife or even habitat ecology. They come to us with these issues. We lend them our expertise in these issues to help them manage habitat and wildlife in these, interface areas. And by interface areas, I mean the areas like the suburban areas that are now going further and further out into the rural areas, and also dealing with a variety of issues. For one example, I had someone from an office building calling me about some vultures that they had, and these vultures were rolling up the mats that were in front of their doors. Yeah, in this office building, and they're like, we don't want to do anything with them. We're just kind of wondering, why are they doing this? And so they would roll up their mats. So we deal with that. Did
you know what the reason was? Like, why did they do that?
It's kind of odd. I asked some folks in Everglades National Park, actually, because once I was visiting the Everglades and I saw this sign, and the sign said, we are not responsible for damage by vultures to your vehicle. And I asked somebody in there once a question, why do you have that sign out there? And they said that the vultures will come up and they'll rip the windshield wipers, the rubber off the windshield wipers, or they'll tear the vinyl off of, cars that had like the Cadillacs that had like the vinyl tops on them. Will tear that out, and they said we don't know exactly why they do it, but they think that there is a additive in the rubber that smells like dead fish. And so they think it has something to do with that. So I conveyed that information to them, saying maybe they're trying to make a fish roll-up with it or something.
Sushi.
Yeah, trying to make some mat sushi out of it, And then there was another issue that a colleague of mine dealt with. I can't remember. I think it was a BP building in Houston, where vultures were pulling that caulking rubber sealant from around windows on a high-rise.
Wow.
So we deal with issues like that. We deal with issues of coyote is another big issue. We have people calling us and saying, hey, I see coyotes in my backyard. What do I do? And my first thing is, calm down.
Yeah, take pictures and enjoy it, and be glad that they're there.
Exactly.
Yeah. But, it's interesting. I've heard that crows mess with windshield wipers and stuff too, but for completely different reasons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think crows do it sometimes just to mess with us.
Yeah, they're so smart. It's like amazing.
Exactly.
And that's one thing we got to work on too. It's like, the way I used to be too until I started digging into this. Like a lot of people don't understand animals, think they're stupid, stuff like that. But it's just that it's not the animals are stupid. It's just that we're uninformed.
Yeah, I think that too a lot, and it's like what I tell people. I tell people that people are good at people things. Squirrels are good at squirrel things. Raccoons are good at raccoon things, and coyotes are good at coyote things.
Yeah.
Now intelligence can't be measured between species, because what a coyote can do. A person won't be able to do. Is a person going to be able to go out and sniff out a cottontail
right
and catch it? No, most likely not. That's not going to happen. But coyote are good at coyote things, and people are good at people things. Unfortunately, some of our things destroy what the coyotes need.
Yeah, and there's research that shows that some birds, maybe some squirrels, I forget, but they are far better than people at remembering where they left certain things and going back to get them.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that's where they like to cache acorns everywhere. And this morning I was running around looking for my keys.
Right.
I couldn't imagine if I had 30 sets of keys I had to keep up with.
True. Yeah. It's interesting. But anything else you want to tell us about your current job and what you do?
That's the bulk of what we do.
Cool.
Is the technical guidance aspect, and just kind of helping, like I said, quasi-governmental agencies, HOAs, POAs, water boards, etc., on dealing with wildlife and wildlife issues.
And that'd be good for folks around.
Habitat issues.
Yeah. And that'd be good for folks around here.
Yeah.
So if they want to know how to better take care of their land or how to work with the HOA to change policies, you could get involved or recommend some other people maybe.
Exactly. Yeah, we get a lot of calls on white-tailed deer issues, urban white-tailed deer issues.
Mm-hmm.
Believe it or not, a lot of times when people ask, okay, you're an urban wildlife biologist, do you mean you study pigeons? No, not really. We don't deal with pigeons. Pigeons are a introduced species. We deal with native species. But we get a lot of calls on white-tailed deer, especially now in the area of between 99 and the Beltway on the northwest side of town, where the woodlands is slowly moving south, and the area around the Beltway is slowly moving north, and it's just basically shrinking the white-tailed deer habitat more and more and more and more and forcing them into smaller and smaller areas.
Sad.
So we're getting issues with white-tailed deer in people's yards. And people like seeing the white-tailed deer in their yards until you have two bucks in rut and they start competing for territory. And when when National Geographic starts happening in their front yard, then they're starting to go, oh my God, what do we do now? And it's like, well, that's what bucks do that time of year.
Yeah.
It's dealing with people. It's dealing with people, helping people deal with wildlife. A lot of times, what I like to tell people is my job may not necessarily be wildlife management. I manage people. I manage people. Wildlife can manage itself.
Yeah, that's what I say to some people. We got to take care of our area. It's like, no, the area can take care of itself. We just got to undo the damage that some stupid people did.
Exactly. Yep. Exactly.
It's like nature's been around far before we were, and it will be around far after we're gone.
Exactly.
Yeah. But yeah, and some people, if they wonder why there's so many deer, they go out and kill coyotes and bobcats. Well, that's why. It's your own fault. You got to leave them there to be governors that control the whole ecology.
Yeah, I mean, we have severely knocked down our predator numbers, which is going to make prey animal numbers go up.
Mm-hmm.
That's just the natural order of things. So at that point, we now have to become the predator, and that's what I end up telling people when it comes to white-tailed deer issues. It's like, well, at that point, you have these are the things you can do, and Parks and Wildlife will issue permits for people to help take care of their overpopulated deer issues, but it doesn't solve the problem. It's really just kind of it's a temporary solution, and that's what a lot of people don't realize is, just simple trap and removal. That's a temporary thing. You need to change the reason that they're there, not just trap and remove, because nature abhors a vacuum. If you remove wildlife from somewhere, other wildlife is going to go in and exploit those resources. If it's your flower bed, or your the dog food that you leave out, or the cat food that you leave out on your back stoop at night.
Yeah.
Nature is going to exploit that. So if you don't want raccoons, if you don't want 30 raccoons in your backyard, don't leave cat food out at night for them to
Yeah.
Food, water, shelter. That's what they're looking for.
And that's
food, water, shelter.
Yeah, and that's an important reason to study history. See what Native Americans and primitive Africans believe and believed. We can actually learn a lot from them. Or even there's a quote. I think it was Horace. Ancient Roman, 2,000 years ago or so. I think it was Horace, and I'm pretty sure. And he said something like, you can throw Mother Nature out with a pitchfork, yet she will return.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, the dynamics the whole dynamics have not changed when it comes to that. I mean, our numbers have changed, people's numbers have changed, but the whole dynamic of the ecosystem hasn't changed. It's still going to adjust. The ecosystem will adjust to things. Does it adjust good or bad?
True.
I guess therein lies the big question.
And then one example folks might be interested in, they might think, like coyotes and bobcats, they're so dangerous. Well, they're not. And they're so bad and scary and they kill things. Well, and I'll post this in the show notes. I've got it on the ccerp Facebook page somewhere, but I found a story. Some folks somewhere, like a lot of people, they were scared of snakes and didn't understand them. Oh, there's rattlesnakes here. Let's kill them. So they killed their rattlesnakes. Then they started having a major problem in their warehouse with rats. It took like, I think, 2 or 3 years and maybe $2 or $3 million to try to get that problem under control. All because they killed the rattlesnakes. You know?
Yep.
So
and there is a balance. You know,
yeah.
There's definitely a balance when it comes to that. You get rid of the predators, and the prey species will be able to survive much better.
Yeah. They had to deal with rats eating into stuff, the feces, increased population. Yuck. But so could you tell folks a little bit about your background? Like,
yeah, sure thing. Well, I grew up here. I grew up actually just north of Houston in a little town called Cut and Shoot. We lived on acreage that backed up into the Sam Houston National Forest,
nice.
where I grew up. I became interested in wildlife and ecology. I went to the University of Houston downtown, have a degree in biological and physical science with a minor in geology and environmental science, essentially a degree in ecology.
Cool.
Is what I have.
Yeah.
I did undergrad work, undergrad research along Buffalo and White Oak Bayou.
Cool.
Doing taxonomic plant surveys along Buffalo and White Oak Bayou.
What kind of surveys?
Did, plant taxonomic surveys.
Oh, okay.
So I would go through and identify plants and plant families and plant communities along Buffalo and White Oak Bayou. And I did that along the Neches River corridor also in East Texas. And with that, I did some undergrad work out at Sheldon Lake State Park. And a job came up at Sheldon Lake State Park for the resource manager, natural resource manager for Sheldon Lake. And I got that job, and I was natural resource manager for Sheldon Lake State Park, overseeing the daily restoration, the prairie restoration out there. We had a project where we had like 300 acres of tallow trees that were removed, and replanting native bottomland trees into the area.
What kind of trees did you remove?
We removed Chinese tallow trees.
What are they? What's the deal with them?
Chinese tallow tree is a invasive tree that it kind of has a storied background. I've heard stories all the way from Benjamin Franklin introduced them to the U.S. to they were introduced in the U.S. after the Civil War in the South to provide oil for lamps and such. I don't know what the true story is with it. I think it was my guess is how their introduction was really just how most of these species get introduced into the area, and that's just through landscape. It's like the landscape trade, and they are prolific reproducers. They will take over areas very quickly, and typically they like kind of wet, marshy areas. They will just absolutely take over, and they have very little benefit to any native wildlife or pollinators or anything in the area. And they will go in and they will take over an area and create a very like mono-specific ecosystem where your dominant plant is going to be a Chinese tallow. We had like nearly 300 acres that was a good, 80-85% Chinese tallow.
Wow.
So we went in and removed the Chinese tallow in the area and replanted it with more native bottomland species like nuttall oak and water oak, sweet gum, etc.
Cool.
Things like that, to replace that canopy that was at one point dominated by tallow. And then later on I was asked to.
Was that program pretty successful and the land's better now?
Yeah, oh yeah, it was.
Cool.
It was pretty successful. We got it down to a 0% over canopy of Chinese tallow. But like with any of these projects, you need to continue with maintenance of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you can't just go in and do this and then walk away. You need to continue with maintenance. So you need to continue to remove Chinese tallow, continue to remove invasives from those areas. And that's something similar to what I was doing. I was asked to be resource manager or look at the natural resources at Davis Hill State Park. It's not exactly a state park. It's property that is owned by Texas Parks and Wildlife, the state parks, north of here, east of Cleveland. And so I took over doing that and did that. And then the position of urban wildlife biologist came up here. And I took that position, I think probably 6 or 7 years ago. And that's how I ended up in the position that I'm in now. Which is kind of an interesting thing, is my background being ecology, and this being a wildlife position. Typically, most of my colleagues in wildlife have a degree from like A&M with a degree from A&M in like wildlife management, or or similar. I come into it with a degree in ecology.
Cool.
So I come into it with a little different spin on the whole, looking at the whole gestalt, looking at everything in relation to wildlife. So I kind of brought in a little bit different perspective into wildlife, which has worked out very well so far, I think.
Can you describe that difference? Like, what's the difference in perspective and the difference in the training between the two?
Well, a lot of it has with a degree in wildlife management. You're looking at more of how animals behave, how much more looking at the animal as being centric. So you take classes in like mammalogy, and you take classes in ornithology, you'll take classes in herpetology, and things like that, where you're looking at specifically the animals themselves and a lot of times the physiology of the animals. Whereas a lot of the courses that I took were more in like sociobiology, which is more studying the interaction. So I had like sociobiology, environmental biology, environmental chemistry, botany, taxonomy, things that were looking much more at a bigger picture on how things interact and interrelate. Ecology, and then also having classes like, also looking at things like more herpetology and ornithology too. So it brought in much more of a wider scope. So really, instead of in looking at specifically like mammal and herp, and et cetera, looking more at the physiology of it, it was much more in the realm of interaction and the whole gestalt, like I was saying, the whole mix of everything. Mm-hmm. But you still need to know the behavior and aspects of the individual wildlife also.
Cool. Interesting. And now your degree is actually in biology or ecology? Explicit? Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Great stuff. I love that. Not that I'm an expert as you are, but I love it.
Yeah, it's a great job. I love it.
Yeah. Get it? Yeah. You're in the office a little bit, but mostly you're outdoors?
Yeah, I would say it kind of depends on the time of year. Like I was saying earlier, one of the services I offer is there is a program called Open Spaces Valuations for Properties. And basically what it is like 97% of the state of Texas is privately owned. So there's not a lot of natural area kind of thing that's publicly owned in the state. So as an incentive for people to use their property for wildlife, they have something that's called a wildlife valuation. It's part of the open spaces valuation for taxes. So essentially, what it is, if you had an agricultural or like a forestry valuation on your property for the past 5 years and the year prior, you can apply for a wildlife valuation, which pretty much means that people can give me a call, and I can come out and I can assess their property and look at their property and say, hey, okay, you want to manage for wildlife. So I will go in and I'll look at it and go, okay, your property, you would be good for managing for migrating waterfowl, for example. And so I will write up a plan for them to manage their property for like migrating waterfowl, or songbirds, or pollinators, and it depends on the size of your property on what you can do. So I'll write up a lot of what I get is people who have had property on the outskirts, what used to be the outskirts of Houston, which is now becoming Houston, and their father or their grandfather or something ran cattle on it. They don't want to run cattle on it any longer, but they would like to keep the property, and they would like to get but they can't afford the taxes on it. So they'll look at moving to a wildlife valuation.
Oh, interesting.
Well,
nice.
I'll go out and write them a plan, and they will send the plan to the Harris County Appraisal District. Harris County Appraisal District will look at it and go, okay, what you're going to do we think is going to benefit wildlife, and not just wildlife, but it's going to benefit everyone. So it needs to be something that can benefit everyone. And then what they will do is they will continue the valuation of your property under the agricultural valuation, but you no longer need to run cows on it or grow hay or livestock, any type of livestock or anything. You can then switch into a wildlife valuation. And a lot of times what I'll do is I'll go in and say, okay, say it was pasture land. Well, let's restore this, what was previously pasture land, let's restore it to native prairie. So then I'll go in and look and say, okay, if you've got a species coming in, like Chinese tallow, Chinese privet, Japanese ligustrum, those are usually the big ones, Basie grass, etc., Johnson grass, stuff like that. We want to go in and we want to remove this. And then you can do that over year 1 or year 2 or whatever. And then go in and let's plant native prairie grasses, and let's try to get this back to a good, solid native prairie. So I'll write them a plan. Typically, I write my plans typically over a 5-year period of time. And they can then take that, and each year they have to do at least 3 management practices on the property. And they can keep their agriculture valuation without having to run cows or anything. And they're doing something that's good for that's good for the environment, good for the ecology, good for nature, and good for everyone, really. So that's one of the services that we give to people, and we do it at no charge. It's no charge to.
I was going to ask. Wow.
To state of Texas, to any person that owns property in the state of Texas.
Nice. And so, are you using, to some extent, the concepts of ecological succession when you're doing that?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. That's what I tell people also. One of the first things I'll do, I'll ask them, I'll try to find the history of the property.
Oh, cool.
And sometimes Google Earth is really good with it, because sometimes you can get, depending on the parts of town that you're in, you can get aerial photographs of on Google Earth of the Houston area as far back as the early 40s.
Wow.
So I can go back and look, and let's say that this piece of property, I can go back to the early 40s and look at it, and I don't see any evidence of farming or anything, anything to that nature. And I can look at it and go, okay, I know that at least before 1940s that this property was coastal prairie. Then I can go in and I'll ask them, what has happened to this property over the time that your family has owned it? They may say, oh, well, they've just run cows on it. Or a lot of around here were rice farms.
Huh.
There were a lot of rice farms around here.
Interesting.
So it may have been a rice farm or etc. And that can kind of base an idea on how I would first attack and put together a management plan for the property. So if they said, oh, my papa's owned this property, he bought it in, 1950, and all he's done is run cows on it, then the first thing I'll say to him is like, okay, well, my first management plan, the first thing I would like you to do in your management plan is don't do anything to the property for a year. Just let it grow.
Mm-hmm.
I want to see what pops up. You may have a lot of really already good established prairie species that are there. I mean, we'd be surprised at what may pop up that's been surviving.
Yeah, really quickly.
Yeah, see what
pops
up.
Don't sometimes some seeds like pop up even in barren land, even though it's been like 5 or 10 years?
Oh, absolutely.
Interesting.
So I'd like to see what pops up. And then when it pops up, I said, use that as your base. Use that as your base. If you get a lot of good prairie plants that are popping up, then I'll say, okay, well, then the next step that you need to do, take care of the invasives. Take care of the stuff that's not supposed to be in there. Let the other stuff grow. Why plant something there if something is already there and it's growing as established?
Yeah.
When we removed the canopy of Chinese tallow trees here at Sheldon Lake on the tallow forest removal, we had switchgrasses popping up, we had Missouri ironweeds popping up, we had frostweed popping up, we had all of these good native species of prairie plants that started popping up once we removed that cover that have been sitting there, over the past 50 plus years,
Wow.
either, barely hanging on or dormant or what may be.
Interesting.
But there still could be very much a seed bank in the soil. So that's one of my first things is that. And then at that point, it's like, okay, well, let's do that. Let's see what comes up, and then we'll go from there. Or I may walk onto a property, and it's like that. It's covered in invasive tree and shrub species and grass species. And I'll just be like, ooh, okay, we just need to start over.
Yeah.
And at that point, it's like, okay, let's just get rid of everything here, and let's start over. If I don't have that historical reference, then what I'll try to do is go, okay, what do I think has historically been in this particular area? Mm-hmm. And then we'll try to create what may have been historic to that area.
Cool. Makes sense. How did you get rid of the Chinese tallow? Did you have to use like some glyphosate or something, or you just pull it up, or like what?
Yeah, typically when you're dealing with Chinese tallow, there are a few options that you have. One of the most effective ways of getting rid of Chinese tallow is what's called the hack and spray method, and that's where you have like a hatchet or a machete, and you go around the tree about knee. This is what I tell people, just generally knee high, a hack at about 45 degrees, open the wound up a little bit by like twisting the axe or twisting the machete out. Then you have a spray bottle that has a woody plant herbicide in it. So you're looking at something like triclopyr, or you're looking at 2,4-D, something like that. Something that's going to be a woody species, that can kill a woody species. Glyphosate generally doesn't do much when it comes to woody species.
Okay.
And you do this hack, and you just have a regular spray bottle that you can get at Home Depot or Walmart or whatever. Walk around the tree and every 3 to 4 inches to make this hack. So you may put 2 hacks around a tree, you may put 3, you may put 4. and spray that into that little pocket that you've created around the tree. That I found to be probably, at least for me and in my experience, that's been the most effective way of doing it.
Cool.
You can also use something called, if you have like just vast, like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of acres, you can rent a crop duster or a helicopter to do something that's called clear cast. I really don't like that. I prefer myself doing the hack and spray method because it's you're targeting an individual tree. It takes longer, it's more manpower, more time, but you're targeting one thing. With clear cast, you're just spraying herbicide everywhere.
And then people need jobs. They say, we need jobs, and we need physical labor. We're not doing enough, so why not just do it with a hatchet? You're getting outdoors.
And clear cast is expensive. Not only clear cast is expensive, but you know how much it costs to rent a helicopter?
No.
Not cheap.
I'll bet. Yeah.
Yeah.
And what's the third method?
And the third method is you can basically cut the tree down and do what's called a stump treatment, and that's where you treat the cambium layer of the tree once you cut the tree down all the way. I don't prefer to do it that way. I think that once you, and this is my theory on it, once you cut the tree down, you've basically ended transpiration. And transpiration is the movement of water through the tree, the root system, up through the leaves. If you girdle the whole tree or you cut the whole tree down, you don't really have the transpiration going. And then if you spray around the stump, every time I've done a cut stump method, it's taken 3 or 4 or 5 treatments to do it.
Makes sense.
So I prefer the hack and spray method myself.
And so with the hack and spray, the poison spread through the whole entire tree through transpiration?
because you're not totally cutting the tree off from being able to transpire, to being able to move water through the whole tree.
And that's kind of like circulation in our body, circulation through the blood vessels and everything.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And if you have seedlings, if you have like little seedlings that are under like 6 inches or so, you can a glyphosate treatment, just going into spraying, is effective on them if they're about 6 inches or so tall. But once they get over 6 or so inches, then they're much more difficult to kill at that point. So,
or you can just tear them up by the roots. You got to make sure you get the roots too. If you leave the roots in the ground, they regrow, right?
Yeah. So if it's moist soil, you can just grab them and pull them up.
I've pulled up, a bunch of them in one area along Cypress Creek. I want to get out there and do more. As you say, it's like it's around a pond, so kind of more marshy and just like thick seedlings in some places.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and that's their preferred area, is to take over kind of wet little marshy areas. That's their preferred area to spread in.
And folks might find it interesting, like I think people talk about Rachel Carson, but not a lot of people have read her books. What's the one book she wrote that she's most famous for?
Silent Spring.
Yeah. If people actually read it, I think a lot of people who are for or against her, seems like they haven't actually read her book. But if you actually read it, she promotes, or she's good with using pesticides, herbicides and stuff, as long as it's targeted. She doesn't.
As long as it's targeted. That's the big thing.
Yeah.
That's the big thing. And I am, trust me, I am definitely not the person to defend Monsanto or anything in any way, shape, or form, but herbicides are a useful tool for doing restoration work if they're used properly. I'm not when I'm talking about using herbicides, I'm not talking about getting a tractor with a 30-foot boom on it and just willy-nilly spraying herbicide all over something and treating it 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 times a year over a course of 20 years. I'm talking about very selective, targeted, selective use of herbicides. And if it wasn't for that, we wouldn't be able to do a lot of restoration and getting rid of a lot of the invasive plant species that we have in the area without it's a necessary evil at times.
And that's all we got now. Maybe one day in the future, science gets more advanced. We can have a herbicide that targets Chinese tallow, only Chinese tallow, and nothing but Chinese tallow. But until then, we don't have it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I mean, a lot of times they've tried biological ways of trying to control invasive species. I have a tendency myself to kind of shy away from doing stuff like that because you don't want to introduce an invasive species to get rid of an invasive species.
Mm-hmm.
Using biological means sometimes, that's like the idea is using one organism against another organism. Are you potentially going to be introducing another invasive species to kill an existing invasive species? So some of them have shown to work well. There's a Salvinia weevil for giant Salvinia that seems to be somewhat successful, and it hasn't taken over yet. But for an example, using grass carp to get rid of hydrilla, and when this was first done, it kind of created a monster in itself, because then you had these grass carp that would take over lakes after getting rid of the hydrilla in the lakes. So they started eating native vegetation and things. So, now we have haploid and triploid grass carp that aren't supposed to be able to reproduce. So I myself personally, I kind of cringe at the idea of using biological organisms against biological organisms in invasive species control.
Yeah, it'd be nice, again, if science advances so we could do that better, but that's still in the, experimental stage, or sometimes it's just a crapshoot. It's like, let's try this and see if it works, or if we totally screw things up.
Yeah. I couldn't imagine us going over and to Africa and bringing lions over to take care of the hog problem here.
Yeah.
That we have lion problems.
Yeah. And do you remember some of the other things that have been really successful or really disastrous when they've tried to introduce one species to control another?
The biggest one I think of right offhand is the grass carp.
Okay.
And there are certain areas that, grass carp just absolutely took over. There are videos of people driving boats through bayous and stuff, and the boat motor causes the carp to freak out, and they start jumping all over and jumping into the boat and all of that. So that's our biggest one I think of around here.
Yeah.
Is using that species introduced to get rid of another species. I just don't think it's good news. Yeah, I forgot. I've read about some cases about that, some things that have been successful and some that haven't, but I forgot the details. The Salvinia weevil has been somewhat successful in getting rid of giant Salvinia. Giant Salvinia is a South American fern, water fern, that kind of floats on the top of water, and it can choke out rivers, mainly slow-moving streams like bayous and lakes and stuff, and it can just totally cover, 100% cover lakes. Wow. And the Salvinia weevil is one that has been somewhat successful in controlling giant Salvinia, and it hasn't gotten out of control. Oh, 1 second. That reminds me. Go off on a tangent for a second.
What percent of like the lakes and ponds in Texas are natural and versus man-made?
Well, most of them are reservoirs. They're considered reservoirs. So it's a dam, it's something that's been dammed up in order to hold water for municipalities. So most of our lakes in the state of Texas are man-made, with the exception of Caddo Lake. Caddo Lake is considered our only natural lake.
Wow.
And but everything else in the state has been made. We say man-made. It's been something that's been dammed up or has been dredged in order to hold water. But Caddo Lake is considered our only natural lake in the state of Texas, which is kind of surprising. That's not to say that, that's not to say that there aren't natural, like, smaller bodies of water, that are maybe along bayous or along lakes, because you'll have, like, or along, rivers and streams, because you may have overflow areas, etc. But they're not going to be what we think of as lakes, that being, very large bodies of water. As a matter of fact, Sheldon Lake State Park, the lake at Sheldon Lake State Park was impounded. Impounded during, I believe, the 1940s to supply water to the east side of Houston. So its name was originally was Sheldon Reservoir. Some people may even still call it Sheldon Reservoir.
Yeah, just like to me, what is it? Some parkway named after some House of Representative person or something. It's not that to me. To me, it's still like 1960 or even not that, like Jackrabbit Road.
Yeah.
And do you think like the lake thing in Texas would that be because of our geology and the fact that we got so much sand, or what? Do you know?
Yeah, I think it's just the fact that we don't really. A lot of the Great Lakes and things like that on the northern parts of the U.S. are glacier lakes. They were carved out by the transition and regression of glaciers. So stuff like the Great Lakes and things like that were carved out. We really didn't see that much in the history, the geologic history of Texas. But so I mean, we have more like little kind of pothole kind of ponds. So smaller ponds like that. And if you look at like the hill country is mostly limestone. And so you get moderate amounts of rainfall in the hill country area, and it runs right straight this direction.
Interesting.
Heads to Houston, where it flattens out and slows down.
Yeah.
But we've got a big body of water right next to us.
Yeah. Yeah, and folks might find it a little interesting. I'm working with some homeschool kids up in Minnesota, and one of them, I'm going through a book, Minnesota's Ecology by John Tester, if I remember the name right. And in there, it talks about, of course, some geology at first before it gets into some animals and ecosystems. Got to talk about the weather and geology first, but I learned that at one place in Minnesota, forgot the name right now, about hour and a half kind of south of west of the Twin Cities, there's a place there that has a rock exposed that's actually, like, if I remember right, maybe 2.5 billion years old.
Yeah.
And then the Canadian Shield up in the boundary waters there, where two of these kids, brother and sister, have been to Camp Minergen. The Canadian Shield is like a billion years old, 1.5 billion.
Yeah. It's amazing. Yeah. Here we're This area of Texas has been what's called depositional for the longest time. We don't really erode much here. We deposit more, kind of deltaic, where it's we have a lot of deposition of sediment. So it's hard to find around here rock. That's one of the biggest reasons you don't find rock around here very much, because everything. Well, we have rock. It's typically rock from everything east of the Rocky Mountains flows this direction and eventually makes its way here after eroding away and eroding away and eroding away and weathering away, and finally makes it here. And but we're depositional. We get a lot of sand silt clay. That's why you have a lot of that sand silt clay makeup of the area here. That's why you have the Lake Charles clay and Beaumont clay and such as that, because this area has been area of transgression and regression of the oceans over the past millions of years, which creates deposits of sand and clay and silt. So we have, typically here we're much more closer to the clay, whereas if you go further up into East Texas, you get more sandy, loamy soils. Here we have overlay of sandy, loamy soils, and then we start hitting clay really quick.
Yeah.
In these areas.
Yeah, and folks can see that if they get out into the creek. Some areas, Buffalo Bayou, Cypress Creek, see the sand and the clay underlying that.
Yeah, and that's good here because that creates these like depressional wetlands and stuff that you get in the prairie systems around here. They call pothole wetlands because you have that a more shallow sandy profile, and then hitting that clay, so that clay holds water. So that's how you get the depressional wetlands and stuff a lot around this area.
Cool.
Pothole wetlands in the prairies. That's why we have a lot of wet prairies here, because we're flat. We have clay soils, and stuff doesn't run off of that very quickly. It's like I joke with people when I'll go do conferences or something like in Portland, and I'm explaining to people the topography of this area in southeast Houston. I said, yeah, if I run a 100-meter transect across an area and I have an elevation change of a foot, I feel like I climbed a mountain.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah. I was out walking with some folks the other day, kind of showing them the area a little bit, some parts of the creek they're not used to, and the guy had a pedometer thing with him, track steps, and when we got back, I don't remember what it was, he was like, it looks like we had a total elevation change of like 200 or 300 feet. I'm like, what? Not possible. But I guess it was.
It's like, oh, really? Yeah.
But around here, like because of some topographical features, bike trails, we were actually going up on top of it's kind of rolling around here, so going up on a ridge, going down into from there onto the trail, and then from there down into a ditch and stuff like that, and then going back up, so I guess between the changes, it could add up to be something like that.
Yeah.
But so we've been going out about an hour. Do you still have a little more time to talk, or what's your schedule like?
Sure.
Cool.
Sure. I'm
sweet.
I'm good.
Good. What about, how did you get into biology? Like, so how did it come about when you were a kid that you got interested?
Great one here. I love telling this story. A lot of times I will do. I've been asked to come do talks at universities or something on how to get into this profession and how did I get into it. Well, it's like when I tell people I credit Bigfoot. I credit Bigfoot for getting me into this. When I was a kid, there was a movie that came out. It was called The Legend of Boggy Creek.
Hmm.
And The Legend of Boggy Creek is about the Fouke monster from Fouke, Arkansas, which is right across the border from Texas and into Arkansas. And my family is from East Texas, all the way from Northeast Texas to Southeast Texas. And so I was familiar with Fouke and everything. And as a little kid, I watched this movie, and the movie's about the Fouke monster who roamed up and down Boggy Creek. And it was this ape-like hairy monster, Bigfoot-type monster that was terrorizing the town of Fouke, Arkansas, right? And I watched this when I was a kid, and I was just like, I was both scared and fascinated by it. Like, wow, that's cool. And I'm like, and I'm knowing that, where I grew up, like I said, I grew up at Cut and Shoot, and our property backed up onto the Sam Houston National Forest, and the border from my parents' property to Sam Houston National Forest was Caney Creek. And so I'm sitting here thinking, hey, if the Fouke monster can be on Boggy Creek, why can't he be on Caney Creek? So I set myself out at like 5, 6, 7 years old. I'm going to find the Fouke monster. And so I walked up and down the sandy banks of Caney Creek looking for signs of the Fouke monster. Well, I never found any sign of Fouke monster or Bigfoot or anything, but I found other tracks. And I'm like, what are these tracks? And so there was a bookstore in Conroe at this time, the only bookstore in Conroe. That was the big city to me.
Yeah.
Conroe, in the early, mid 70s, and so I went to the bookstore, Gear Spec and Roper, and I said, hey, I want to know what these tracks are. So they turned me on to something that were called golden books.
Yeah. Totally. I got some.
The golden book of trees, the golden book of tracks, the golden book of weather. So
I didn't know they had a tracking.
Yeah, they had golden books that just found everything. And so they were these and different field books that I ordered from Gear Spec and Roper. And so I took these little field guides and I went out into the woods again and started figuring out, oh, those are raccoon. Okay, those are possum. That's deer. That's, So I started figuring out what these tracks and what this scat was, and plants, and figuring out what's this plant, So I had this really early interest in ecology and in the whole working of, and I would look at these like raccoon tracks that were all along the edge of the water, and then seeing these little freshwater mussel shells laying all around where these tracks were.
Same here,
I would sit there for hours and look at those tracks. Literally, I would sit in one spot for hours at a time, looking at these tracks and going, what was that raccoon thinking?
Cool.
What was it doing?
Wow.
Why was it here? Why was it moving around here? And that's the thing that really piqued my interest in it. But it was the whole idea of a, 5 or 6 year old kid wanting to go out in the woods and find Bigfoot.
That's funny. Wow.
Yeah. That was the biggest thing that got me into it. It's like, man, I'm going to find Bigfoot. I even actually looked for Bigfoot a little bit when I got a little older. Unfortunately, still didn't find any Bigfoot.
Yeah. But, so my story's pretty much the same, but it's like decades later and no Bigfoot. But the tracks and the foraging were like the same. Yeah. Cool.
I know what's great is, and I'll tell people the story, and they all kind of kind of laugh or giggle about it when I tell the story. But I said, stop and think about it, though. Stop and think about it. What better representative do we have to draw people into natural areas than Bigfoot?
Mm-hmm.
There's the mystery. There's the idea that it lives one with nature. It's out. It's roaming around. I use Bigfoot a lot when I talk to kids too.
Oh, cool! Yeah.
It piques curiosity. pulls you in. It's something. It's the great mystery. It's the what's on the other side of that tree thing. And
True.
So I like to use that idea to interest people into, into nature and into the wild.
Yeah, it makes sense. The mystery and fascination, I think it appeals to everybody. It's in our nature.
Oh,
you know.
Absolutely.
It's kind of one reason why we spread from Africa and went everywhere.
Exactly.
You know.
Find out what's on the other side of that hill.
Yeah. Yeah, I wonder, maybe if we think about it, maybe if we do more research, we'll find out that people left Africa because they were looking for Bigfoot.
There you go. See, that's awesome movie.
Yeah, it'll surprise everybody. It all goes back to looking for Bigfoot.
Exactly. Bigfoot saved mankind.
But, so, did you ever see any, rattlesnakes when you were out there?
Very seldom have I seen rattlesnakes here. Now, when I was growing up, canebrake or timber rattlesnakes.
Cool.
Ran into a few of them up in that part of the area. Down in this part of the area, you have to go to the coast or head out west, head north, or head to the coast, or head a little further south before you start getting rattlesnakes. For some reason, there's just not many rattlesnakes, if any, in the Houston area.
Yeah, unfortunately, yeah.
Yeah, so if you go along the coast, Diamondback, along the coast, you get pygmy rattlesnake and
wow, nice.
Canebrake or timber rattlesnake. To the north of us, west of us, you'll pick up western diamondback again, and south of us, you'll pick up western diamondback again. But right here in this immediate Houston area, about the closest rattlesnake you're going to get to Houston is going to be Kingwood. And that's only because someone from Kingwood brought a timber rattlesnake shed to me and said that they found it in Kingwood. And that surprised me because their numbers are not as high as we would think they are. They're actually a protected species in the state of Texas.
Oh, cool. So illegal to kill them?
Yes.
Good.
And there have been some people busted on Facebook for killing them and taking pictures of themselves and putting it out on Facebook.
Sweet. Sorry it happened to the snake, but glad they're busted for it. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But that's why we need this podcast like this, you talking, letting people know about the importance of snakes and ecology and being wise about it. And yeah, some people think that they kill a snake and so they're a badass, but yeah, right. So you got this little snake that's not going to do anything to you and is going to wait for you to leave, and you got a shovel or a gun, and you're like 50 yards away or whatever, and you kill it. That's not a badass. That's a wuss. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, and it's like, it's kind of like with snakes, what I tell people is, there's like 24 diseases that you can get from rats and rodents that either directly or indirectly are transmitted to people. There are 2 that you can get from a snake, and that involves direct contact with the snake. One of them is salmonella, and it involves direct contact with the snake, and not just direct contact with the snake. You have to have direct contact with the snake, and then you have to have direct contact with the snake to some type of lining or mucus in your body. So I just tell people, if you don't want to catch a disease from a snake, don't pick it up and lick it.
Yeah, it's funny.
It's perfectly fine.
Hilarious.
There's like a couple of dozen communicable diseases from rodents that people can get. One of which is the plague.
Oh yeah, right.
And a lot of people don't realize that the plague is still alive and well in the U.S.
Wow. Didn't know that.
Hantavirus is another.
Which one?
So there are actually hantavirus.
What does that do?
Is another. It's I believe it's. Don't give me lying about that one.
Okay.
From my understanding, it's similar to the plague. But yeah, the Black Plague still exists.
Wow.
And we're talking mainly New Mexico, Arizona, that particular area. But I think on average, there's like, I think over the past like 10, 15 years, there have been 20, 30, 40 cases of the plague in the U.S.
Wow.
And that's something that snakes take care of.
Yeah, thank goodness.
One of our most prominent snakes that we have around here is the Texas rat snake.
Mm-hmm.
And totally harmless.
Yeah.
Totally harmless. And will get rid of small rodents, better than anything else. Kind of going back to the thing we were talking about earlier. People are good at people things. Snakes are good at snake things. Snakes can find rodents and take them out. And that rat snake isn't going to hurt you in the least bit.
Yeah.
In the Houston area, we have like 4 venomous snakes, and we have up a number, depending on if you go with species or subspecies, we can have up to like 23 different species of non-venomous snakes in the Houston area. So we have the coral snake, copperhead, cottonmouth, and depending on where you are, timber rattlesnake to the north or the diamondback rattlesnake to the east and west of us.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and people are like, oh, how do I tell the difference? Basically what you do is you figure out how to identify a cottonmouth, copperhead, coral snake, and the 2 rattlesnakes that we may have in this area. Learn to identify those. And the rest of them you don't have to worry about trying to identify.
Yeah.
Now, does that mean I think you should kill the venomous snake? No, I don't think you should.
Yeah, agreed.
I would relocate it.
Yeah.
I would relocate.
And then if I'll put in the show notes if folks are interested, there's people who do that, like around here, a gentleman I know by the name of Boyd, he does that. I think he's got training and stuff, but he's removed a lot of snakes. Kelly does that. And I'll maybe put a link to a group on Facebook that's about snake relocation, but they're good about it. They value snakes. They don't want them to be put down or insulted on their page. You got to have qualifications to be listed as a remover. You can't just be any old schmuck. So that's something to consider. But I'll link to that. Sorry, go ahead, Kelly.
Oh, no, you took the words right out of my mouth. I was just about to do the exact same thing.
Cool.
Yeah.
And, yeah, snakes can go places that we can't, or we can't put poisons, and then they're not poison, So instead of, like, destroying our environment with a bunch of dang poisons, just let the living thing do their job.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, they are a lot more efficient than... They're a lot more efficient than a trap, because a trap's not going to move around in the
Yeah.
Trap's going to sit in one spot. You're going to be lucky if you catch anything in it.
Sure.
A snake's going to go around, it's going to find what it needs, and it's going to take it. And, I still get a lot of people that just cannot get rid of this fear of snakes. And it's just like, man, you just got to... You don't have to love it, but at least respect it and leave it alone.
Yeah, and I like to bring up some contrast, put things in context. So yeah, like for example, letting people get people to think about it. It's like, okay, what caused the Black Plague in Europe? Was it the rat or the snake? Do you know of any major plagues or anything that has been caused by snakes? Because I don't.
Exactly.
But I know millions of people have died. Just tremendous death. Like what? In some of these plagues, is it like 40%, 60% of the population would be wiped out?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And
absolutely.
It doesn't happen with snakes.
Yeah, you have the rodent as a vector that is moving the disease around. And you have a perfectly good natural control of it that you decide to cut its head off.
Yeah.
And it's like, man, just leave it alone. It doesn't want you. It's not going to eat you. And it's not going to eat your children. Don't worry.
Yeah. Yeah.
Eaten by a rat snake.
That's another thing I'll tell people. It's like, the copperhead has other things to do. It's like it wasn't put here on Earth to like go after you and kill you. It doesn't care about you. It just wants to lie out in the sun, eat, and enjoy life.
Yep. Leave it alone and it'll leave you alone. Most of the time that we see bites, it's from people either trying to kill them or trying to handle them.
Or being careless. I think a biker got bit out here, but totally careless about the environment, not paying attention, sits down on a bench, puts his foot down, and yeah, like, what's the snake going to do? It's going to defend himself, just like you. Someone broke into your house, are you just going to, like, tell them where everything is and tell them thanks? No, you're going to, like, be mad and, like, attack them. Snake does the same thing.
Yeah.
It's just like you.
Yeah. It protects itself.
Yeah. And I'll put some videos up that folks can watch. I've taken numerous videos around copperheads. I've touched some. I mean, I'm because of, I think I was like autistic or something growing up, and I was like slow reactions. I don't really like trust myself to like catch one, but I don't want to get bit. I don't want to bother them, but I do like have some videos where I touch some of them, touch their tail maybe, where I'm around it for like 5 or 10 minutes, providing commentary about the copperhead and their lifestyle that, so far as I understand it, and pointing out that they're not doing anything, and people can watch those. The copperheads, I'm there 5 or 10 minutes. It's not coming after me. It's just lying there. Then we go our own way, and everyone's happy. And I tell it thank you at the end for cleaning up our environment.
For putting up with you.
So folks can watch that, and that'll give them more information, since they're probably not around snakes very much. You can let them see like that it's okay. They're not going to do anything. They can watch like 5 or 10 videos or whatever I've made and see it's just fine.
Cool.
And then, snakes can go places we can't, like Scribe Vineyard in California, I think it is. They didn't know it better at first. The owners may be riding around on horseback. Oh, look, there's a rattlesnake. What do? You kill it. And then they started having a trouble, like their grape crop started to be cut back. And they're going, what's going on? And then the guy figured out, whoa, it's because the gophers are taking down the grapes. And then, so thankfully, they made the connection. Instead of thinking, oh, now we got to poison the gophers, they made the connection, we got the problem with gophers because we killed the rattlesnake. It's our fault. Because the rattlesnake is one of the only things that can go into the gopher holes and get the gophers.
Yeah.
So
it's all a balance.
Yeah. And snakes can go places that we can't, and people can't put poison, and so just let them do it. But so whenever you came across a snake when you were a little kid, a rattlesnake out there, did you always see it before it saw you?
I would say that 97% of the snakes that I have been within feet of, I have never seen.
Huh. Yeah.
Every once in a while you may see one, but I guarantee everyone out there, you've walked by hundreds and hundreds of snakes in your life, just simply walking the trails or somewhere, or even walking around in your yard that you've never known, you've never seen, because again, like you were saying, they're not gonna slither out and attack you.
Yeah.
Not what they're gonna do. Most likely, they're gonna either do one of two things. They're either going to stay perfectly still and not move, which is typically what 2 of our snakes will do around here, and that's the cottonmouth and copperhead. They have a tendency to use stealth as their defense. So they'll just be really still.
Cool.
And wait for you to go by. Other snakes, they may be really still, or they may slither off way before you're even near them.
Yeah.
And if you ever notice, a lot of times you walk up on a snake and you happen up on one on a trail, it stops. And it's really still. And it's like, okay, maybe if I'm still, it won't see me. But then you make another move to it, and boom, before you know it, it's gone.
Yeah.
And that's typically what happens. So, yeah, I would say I've probably passed by more snakes in my life than I have actually seen. Now, that's not counting if I'm going out and flipping logs.
Oh yeah, right.
That's a little different story.
But one thing, and I stress that point, folks, maybe make sure you let that sink in. Don't just be scared. It's like, oh my gosh, I've gone past on the trail and there's been snakes out. Think about, okay, no, what's actually happened? I've walked on the trail and I've been by a bunch of snakes and nothing's happened. And generally that will continue to happen into the future. There's like no worry. There's like, what's his name? The guy in Australia, animal guy, famous.
Steve Irwin?
Yeah, Steve Irwin. In one movie he and his wife were in, he said something I've said too. It was good to hear him say it because I had been saying before that, but he's got a lot more experience with animals, of course, but knows them a lot better. But catches crocodiles, which I would never do. But he said, in all his experience, with all these different animals and venomous snakes and everything, crocodiles, yet still, he says, he'd much rather be around wild animals any day than be around most people. Because some people are great, they're awesome, yes, absolutely 100%, but some, it's like, it's not a snake that did the Inquisition or the Salem witch trials or Nazi Germany or anything like that. It's been some people.
Yes.
So just remember you're out there and you're going by a lot of snakes and nothing's happening, and that should be evidence that you're safe, not something to worry about.
Yeah.
As long as you're careful.
As long as you're careful, you should be fine. If you sit down on a log, take a rest, check around where you're at.
Yeah.
If you decide to sit on, take a sit on the ground and around grass or something, just make sure you're not going to sit on something, or you're not going to lean back and rest your arms on something. I know, and it depends on where you're at too. It depends on what part of the country you're in. Depends on what it's going to depend on what type of snakes that you have. Another thing too, if you're walking through somewhere and you need to step over a log or step over an obstacle, don't just hop over it. Don't just step right over it. No telling what's on the other side of the log. Just take a glance across there, or step on the log and then step off the log. Don't just try to step over it. Just little things like that. You'll be perfectly fine. You're perfectly safe. Trust me, there are a lot of snakes out there, and the incident of snake bite are actually very low until it comes to people trying to handle them.
Yeah.
Or try to kill them or to handle them. That's when they end up getting bit. I've heard somewhere that most of the bites that are reported in emergency rooms are on the hands and forearms.
And then if you look at bites in general and not just snake bites, most of the bites are from dogs or from people.
Oh, yeah.
More bites from people than snakes. I think. I'd have to look it up to be sure, but I think so.
Oh, absolutely.
But, yeah, and then all the snakes I've encountered on the trail, between me and it, who's the one that is scared to heck and, runs the hell out of there? It's always the snake. Like one time I saw a young coral snake on a sandy trail sunning itself. Man, it had to go up this little sandy bank and then into the woods, and I have never seen a snake in all my life wiggle that frantically and that much to get up that slope. I wish I had it on video. Yeah.
Honestly, the snake thinks you're going to try to eat it.
True, yeah.
Because you're big, it's small. It's going, ooh, no, something is about to eat me.
Yeah,
so it tries to get out of there before it's eaten.
Yeah, and so people got to turn the tables, and if you weigh 100 pounds or you weigh 200, what would you think if someone 100 times as big as you came up to you, or some animal? So you weigh 100, If something 10,000 pounds came up or something 20,000 pounds, who's going to be the one that's going to be scared?
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely. But
what else is I going to say? I think there's and it's like I like going out on the trails, and I like having the snakes out there because that keeps me mindful. I think one thing people get into a rut and kind of fall into slumbers is Thoreau might call it, Henry David Thoreau, who wrote Walden. People fall into slumbers a little bit, being indoors and in human society too much, and you don't got to pay attention to anything because it's all flat and predictable and the same. But it's important to get outdoors where you have to watch for snakes because that makes you learn to be alert and practice it. It might be like hard at first, and you might struggle with it psychologically, neurologically. It might be a little straining, but I think it's a very important skill to get out there and pay attention to where you're stepping and look before you do anything. Look on one side of the log before you step over, peek over the back of it before you step over. It might be hard at first, but it's a skill worth learning because it can transfer into driving, being around people in society. It'll help, it could help you prevent someone from attacking you or something like that.
Oh, absolutely. And it does another thing that I think is very vital that a lot of people need to do more of now, and it's the old saying, take your time to stop and smell the roses.
True. Yeah.
If you look down, you'd be amazed at the microcosm of things that just exist in a square foot of leaf litter.
Yeah.
And being able to stop and just, look at everything, look up, look down, look around. I always tell people, when you go on a hike somewhere, you should always take a herpetologist, and a mammologist with you. Yeah. Because the herpetologist is always looking down. The mammologist is always looking at the horizon. And the ornithologist is always looking up. So you've got all three places covered.
Huh, yeah.
But yeah, people need to take the time to stop and look down some. Look down at the little things that are around. And just take time to stop and look at that plant. Take a minute and stop and look at that flower. Take a minute and stop and look at that little beetle that's, running across the leaf litter. There's a lot of things out there, and they're not just all big. They're all little things, too. But slow down a little bit. Take your time walking the trail. Don't feel like that you have to get to the end of this mile in, 15 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Take your time. Take 2 hours to walk that mile trail. Take 3 hours to walk that mile trail. Walk slowly, look down, look up, look all around. You'd be amazed at some of the stuff that you end up seeing that you just passed by many, many, many hundreds of times before.
And do like you did, Kelly, when you were younger, like you see the raccoon tracks, like what was it thinking? Why was it there?
Exactly.
What was it doing? Ask that about the flower or the leaves or the little bugs. Like, why are the leaves here and what are they going to do? And if leaves have been falling so long, why aren't there more? And what benefit do they have and stuff like that?
What benefit is it there? Everything has its place. Everything has its place. And it's good to have that. It's good to have that variety. With diversity, you have healthy ecosystems. You have those balances. You have the checks and balances in nature. If you end up with these, you talk about like we were talking earlier about the tallow forest. When all you have is just tallow trees and you walk through there, all you see are tallow trees. You don't see the diversity of birds. You don't see the diversity of insects. You don't see the diversity of mammals. You see tallow trees. Tallow trees are essentially useless to our wildlife here. Mm-hmm. They also put off an oil to keep other things from growing around them.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just like, you're just looking at this, you're looking at a painting of one color. What kind of painting is that?
Yeah.
You know, you need the diversity. You need that whole, you know, not just for the enjoyment of yourself and being able to look at it and see a variety of different wildlife, but to keep that checks and balance, to keep everything in a nice, what we call carry capacity.
Mm-hmm.
To hit that carry capacity where everything is existing, it's existing at a level in which it's not degrading its environment.
Mm-hmm.
That's ultimately what we would like to have.
And then I don't know if humans can survive in an ecology or an environment in which there isn't that diversity. That's not how we came into existence. You know, we can't like quite do an experiment on it, you know, but heck, even when we are forming at birth, when our cells are dividing and everything, I think that involves some bacterial triggers, some things like that.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, very complex, complicated. We need that diversity for human flourishing, survival.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And it's, I think it's vital not only to the environment, but it's vital to health and happiness.
Yeah. And then if we have Chinese tallow, then it's not going to be the same area. People move here, or they want a certain environment around them. They want certain plants and trees, and that's what they know about Houston, but you know, animals and all this. But Chinese tallow comes in, and then it's like entirely different.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, they are really pretty in the fall when they turn red, but you know, why don't you plant a Drummond red maple or sweet gum or something like that? That is equally, if not more, beautiful than a Chinese tallow in the fall.
Yeah.
I don't think anything looks better. You're hard pressed to find anything that looks better to me than a sweet gum tree in the fall, when the leaves turn this just awesome kind of maroonish, purpley, reddish, maroonish color.
Yeah, and I got some pictures of some on the Facebook ccerp page, I think, and got more I'll put up. But yeah, I found one that was a beautiful orange color recently.
Mm-hmm.
And then, as you say, I found some that are a beautiful maroon color.
Yeah. It's amazing, and I would much rather see forests of sweet gum than forests of Chinese tallow trees.
Yeah, agreed. And oak, of course, can produce some beautiful colored leaves in the fall, as long as it's not live oak, of course.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, we actually do have some pretty good fall foliage here. Like I said, that you've got the red maple, you've got viburnums, you've got sumacs, you're talking about the sweet gum, there are some oaks, the sycamores turn yellow. I mean, we definitely have fall color here. People are like, we don't have fall color. Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
You go to the right places and you just have to see it.
Yeah, just got to look and learn, like, listen to this podcast, learn about things like this. That's one reason why we're doing it, to educate, inform. Yeah, there's like a lot of things out there. If people would just go walk in the woods, they'd find all kinds of beautiful things that they could have in the yard that they didn't even know about.
Well, absolutely.
Like purple passion flower, yellow passion flower, prairie nymph, things like that.
Yes, yeah. I mean, there's just I just think about it. I mean, just not even 40, 50, 100 miles north of here, we have the Big Thicket, which is called the Biological Crossroads of North America.
Interesting.
Known as one of the most biologically diverse areas in the world.
Wow.
4 of the 5 carnivorous plant species exist in the big thicket just
Wow.
north of here. Less than an hour drive. You can
Wow,
see,
nice.
You can see pitcher plant meadows. Meadows of pitcher plant, which is a carnivorous plant. They have sundew, which is another carnivorous plant. A couple of warts
Wow.
in the big thicket, and people need to just realize, just drive a little north of here, head out toward, head up 59, and then get out to an area and turn east. Go out into like Saratoga, Lumberton, up to Woodville. Explore that area. Really neat. People don't realize that. People don't realize we have one of the most biologically diverse areas in the world.
Yeah, I didn't know it was that diverse. Wow.
Yeah,
and I'm guilty of that too. I need to go. Go there. Go to Brazos Bend more.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's a great place just north of here, just northwest of Cleveland, at the beginning or the end, depending on which side you start on, of the Lone Star Hiking Trail. It's in an area called Winter's Bayou, and you can walk around out there, and there are dwarf palmettos in that area that are so old that they've trunked.
Wow.
So they're these dwarf palmettos that are standing, 7-8 feet tall, that have trunked, that look like a palm tree.
Interesting.
Because essentially what they are, and they're all out in the Winter's Bayou area.
How old would that make them?
Oh man, I couldn't even guess to say. I'd say upwards of hundreds of years old.
Wow, cool.
Yeah, because these things typically don't trunk. Their trunk is underground.
Okay.
So typically you just see palmettos, you just see the palm leaves right up above the ground. But these in the Winter's Bayou area are so old that they've actually trunked. So they're standing 7 foot high on trunk.
Wow. Well, speaking of color, one thing people can do if they want to see more fall color, since this is Houston, sometimes Christmas it can be 85 degrees. Have some plants in your yard that attract butterflies. I mean, heck, like yesterday I was out when it warmed up to 50. It might have been, I forgot, dang it, I didn't get as good of a look, and I forgot some of these names, but it might have been a buckeye that I saw, common buckeye. But I saw a butterfly. I couldn't get my phone out fast enough to take a picture, and it's flitting around. I'm watching it for a while. And one time I was standing there looking for it, and it flew right between my ankles.
Yeah. Yeah.
But there's some beautiful color for you.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
But, well, I'd like to continue. I need to have breakfast. It's like 12:30 here about. I need to, have some breakfast before it gets too late.
Absolutely. Well, it's been great talking to you.
Yeah, likewise. Hopefully we can do it again. A lot more to talk about. Great discussion. I'm sure folks will love it. So.
Oh, absolutely. Anytime.
Good. Awesome. That's good to hear. Thank you. So, any last words, Kelly?
Yeah, just get outside. I think that's probably two of the best words that anybody can say to anyone is, you know what? Get outside and see what you can find, see what you can explore, understand it a lot better. Understand it, know it, and it's folks like you that really help out by helping spread the word and get people educated on what's out there. But yeah, get outside, especially today, man.
Oh yeah, December 19th, 2019, beautiful day. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
And
really take advantage of it now because, man, this is Southeast Texas. Take advantage of the beautiful weather.
Yeah, it's going to be hot.
Yeah, it's going to get hot pretty soon. So.
And I hadn't thought of it before, but to tie back into something you said earlier, your advice is just get out. But I think to tie back to the mystery and fascination thing, it's like, yeah, if you just get out, it's in our nature to look for mystery and to be fascinated and to be curious and explore. So I hadn't really thought about that before. Yeah, all you got to do is get out and like your nature will take care of the rest.
Yeah, and I can close on the motto of Texas Parks and Wildlife, which is life is better outside.
Truth. Yeah, absolutely. But all right. Thanks, Kelly. I much appreciate the conversation. I enjoyed it. That was great.
Thank you, Michael.
Okay. Thanks. Thanks, folks. Thanks for listening, and we'll talk to you all soon. Bye.